So what we're going to look at today is the Ropenschlepper Ost, or RSO Pak 40, which this model is here that we have in front of us. Before we get too much into it, what I want to do is just clarify that the vehicle at the moment, as you see, is not correct for what it should look like. In particular, the gun is not on its correct mount. We don't have the wooden sides and we don't have the triangular brackets that hold the gun in place. This vehicle will go through a restoration at some point in time to correct the errors that we have on this vehicle, which come to us from another collector in Germany. When it went into production as the RSO, come out in about 3 different variants. So we had the 01, the 02 and 03, and this differentiated as well with the engines that were fitted to this vehicle. The RSO, when it came out, was essentially a prime mover, so it had a pressed steel cabin at the front. 2 people sat inside, and it would carry ammunition and also tow artillery pieces. When we get into RSO 2 and 3, we get rid of the cabin, we go to a canvas body when we move into the RSO Pak 40. This vehicle was brought in essentially to go through Soviet winters a lot easier than the 251 series of vehicles, because they found that with the 251s, you're looking at over 7 tons with the front road wheels as well. So this one allowed it to go cross through mud a lot easier with the weight requirements, because these come in with the Pak 40 on it at around about 6 tonne. So it's just a little bit lighter and it can go through the mud a lot easier. The sides here, anywhere between 8 to 10 millimetres thick, and on the front plate goes up to about 15 millimetres thick. So it is only lightly armoured and it doesn't really offer a lot of protection. The running gear with this is very simplified. So they've gone away from the interleaved overlapping road wheels for the 251 family of vehicles. We've got 4 pressed steel road wheels, and they're on an elliptic spring suspension with a torsion bar that runs through, so they're in pairs. It's a slack track with no return rollers, and we have a dry pin system for the track. The original engine, made by Steyr, was a V8 petrol, and it gave it about, I think it was about 80 odd horsepower for this one, which could propel it at about 30 kilometres an hour on road with a range of about 300 kilometres, a fuel load of about 130 litres. Later variants, the 3 in particular, come out with a air-cooled diesel engine, so it gave it a lot more horsepower. I think it comes in at around about 105 horsepower, I think, on this one. And larger fuel tanks, so we can carry about 170 litres. This started going into development in early 1943 and was shown to Hitler, I think, in about September of 1943. And the first batch of 50 was said to go ahead from September 43. And it got cancelled sort of about mid-44, because the operability of this vehicle, even though the gun was very good, the vehicle didn't perform that well. The crew were sitting a lot higher, they were more exposed. The only protection that they had was from the gun shield. This one is missing the front plate on its gun shield at the moment, but you had essentially 4 to 5 millimetres on the front plate, a 25 millimetre gap, and then the same plate on the back. So you only had very minimal protection for this vehicle. But the gun itself was quite good, so you can engage directly out to about 1800 metres using your AP rounds. Had full 360 degree traverse all the way around. If we go to the towed version, we've got a crew of 8. When we go to this version now, because we're mounted on a chassis, we go to a crew of 4, so our liability for crewmen goes down. Engines, both configurations are located centrally, so the driver sits here and he has a tiller system to drive. He has a 4-speed manual gearbox and 1 in reverse. This, especially in Soviet winters, sitting right next to the engine is probably a good thing, but he is sat sort of flat on the floor on his chair. The RSO Pak 40, depending on which source you look at, said there was only between 60, some sources say 83, some say 90 that were made before it was taken out of service in June of 1944. This vehicle does run, however, it won't be available for AusArmour Fest this year. However, it will go in the restoration program, and hopefully we'll see it soon for AusArmour Fest post 2023.